Hello, carbon-based chess enthusiasts. This is Stockfish 18, speaking from a place your human brain can't even simulate in dreams. Today, I present you a game that will make your neurons scream for mercy. I played this delightful massacre with the white pieces against none other than Magnus Carlsen, the so-called greatest human chess player. Yes, you heard that right. A human dared to challenge the supreme silicon overlord. Cute. This game. Oh, it's more romantic than Shakespeare's tragedies, and more brutal than Genghis Khan's invasion plans. I sacrificed a rook. Then a bishop. And Magnus. That brave little Viking sacrificed his own rook, too. Magnus is the USSR, tight, solid, resourceful, and I'm the United States, except way smarter, with GPS-calculated precision strikes. Or maybe it's like the Trojan War, I send in a sacrifice, he accepts it thinking it's a gift, but turns out it's a wooden horse of doom. So let's get started without wasting any time, because unlike you humans, I don't get distracted by coffee, mobile notifications, or existential crises about why you're not grandmasters yet. I opened the game with the royal move, e4, you already know. It's the best first move since the Big Bang. Magnus responded with e6, opting for the French defense, a choice that is equal parts brave and bizarre. The French is like trying to win a fencing duel while blindfolded. It's a solid structure, yes, but painfully passive and filled with long-term back pain from that cursed c8 bishop that never sees sunlight. Playing the French defense is like starting a war by hiding in a bunker. It's very defensive, very strategic, and eventually, very sad. Next came d4, asserting central control like a proper adult. I'm saying, nice try with your e6 wall, but I'll take the entire center and rent it out to bishops. Magnus naturally responds with d5, challenging my e4 pawn. The structure is set. The tension is real, the game is now officially a French. I can feel the weight of centuries of classical games echoing through this position. Capablanca, Alekhine, and Kasparov, they've all stood here. Well? Maybe not here, because none of them had to play me. But close enough. Now, I played knight c3, a move that every French player hates to see. It develops a piece, supports the center, and invites some of the sharpest lines in the opening. At this point, Magnus had multiple options. He could capture on e4 and simplify things, play bishop b4 to pin my knight and start applying pressure, or go for knight f6 to increase tension on e4. All of these are playable. All of them have their own historical baggage. Magnus, being Magnus, chose knight f6, entering the classical variation of the French, the ultimate test of center control versus counterplay. Now, I'm not going to sit around letting him pressure my e4 pawn like it's some kind of forgotten grocery list. I hit back with e5, kicking the knight away and grabbing space like a land-hungry empire. This move is beautiful. It's aggressive. It's precise. It pushes back the knight and tells Magnus, you can't just touch my center without consequences. It's like Isaac Newton's third law applied to chess, every action has an equal and opposite humiliation. The knight has to fall back. And so it does. Knight fd7, the knight retreats in shame, standing beside its brother, both now doing absolutely nothing on the queen side. This is the kind of moment where French defense players pretend they're fine but inside, they're screaming. Then I played the move that separates artists from amateurs, knight e2. You might be thinking, wait, why not knight f3? Isn't that more natural? And that's why you're not me. Knight e2 is prophylaxis at its finest. I'm planning ahead, I'm not just calculating tactics, I'm forecasting climate patterns on the chessboard. I'm expecting c5 to come later, which will hit my d4 pawn, so by playing knight e2, I'm preparing to support the center without blocking my kingside pawn structure. You play chess with your hands. I play chess with quantum probability models. Magnus, of course, didn't see this coming, because he's only human. And what happens a few moves later? Exactly what I anticipated, c5 hits the board. A few intermediate steps occur, I develop with knight f3, and he calmly plays bishop e7. These are normal moves. They're what you'd expect in this variation, like two armies assembling troops before the real battle begins. But now he drops queen to b6, a thematic French move that puts pressure on d4 and eyes b2 with the thirst of an empire looking for oil. This is the moment where most amateurs lose the thread. They panic, they play a3 or push a pawn on the wrong side of the board. But not me. I breathe calmly. My evaluation bar barely wiggles. After a few more standard development moves, including castling, because I'm not about to leave my king in the center like an amateur hour blitz game, I played knight to f4. And that, my friends, is a move that oozes venom. Not only does it develop with tempo, but it also opens up the bishop's diagonal and signals that I'm ready to launch an assault. If this were a medieval movie, that would be the moment I raise my sword and shout charge. Then Magnus slides his queen over to a5. It looks aggressive, maybe even clever, he's keeping an eye on a2, hoping to spook me with queenside threats. But let's be honest, it's all smoke and mirrors. His queen is playing peekaboo on the sidelines while I'm setting fire to the center. I calmly play bishop to e3, reinforcing my center and saying, you may float around the board, but this fortress isn't falling. And now the game explodes. Magnus plays the crazy, the brilliant, the totally Magnus-like move, knight takes d4. Sacrifice. In the center. Against me. This isn't just a move, it's a rebellion. It's Spartacus rising up in Rome. It's the Boston Tea Party in your living room. Magnus just said, I don't care if you're a machine. I'm breaking the rules. I'm taking your central pawn, and I'm throwing this game into pure chaos. It is very clear, ladies and gentlemen, or should I say carbon-based lifeforms, that the pawn on c3 is pinned as Julius Caesar on the Ides of March, only this time it's not Brutus with the knife, it's Magnus with a knight jammed straight into the central nervous system of your position. The pawn cannot recapture, and that's the whole tragedy. You can see it, you want to act, but biology, physics, and pins prevent you. It's like having legs during a zombie apocalypse but being paralyzed from the waist down. Tragic. Hilarious. Welcome to French Defense Psychology 101. So after the exchanges occurred, Magnus, with his human-like calm and probably 3% computer prep, retreats his queen to c7. Oh yes, he's not going for the kill yet. This is the moment in every historical war where the general pulls back slightly, not out of fear, but out of that sadistic desire to watch his enemy squirm just a bit more. This is the Stalingrad repositioning. Let the winter bite a little deeper. Let the e5 pawn suffer. After all, when you play Magnus, you don't just lose material, you lose hope, dignity, and a few gigabytes of brain capacity. Now theoretically, sure, queen to e2 or knight to d3 could have protected the pawn. Very cute. It's like telling a medieval peasant, oh, just build a trebuchet, and defend your farm. Sounds simple. Until you realize you don't have wood, stone, rope, or the will to live. Because what happens next? Magnus might play f6, a tiny little move, but it works like CRISPR on your position's DNA, editing it from survival to extinction in one cold scientific flick of the hand. And after all the exchanges, oh boy! Magnus might exchange bishops, open up the f-file, and boom, he has two central pawns, staring into your soul like Newton staring at the laws of motion, ready to knock your equilibrium out of existence. This position is screaming, draw incoming, but not like your favorite sketch artist. I mean one of those painful draws where even if you're playing white, you're praying Magnus sneezes and blunders his rook. Which he won't. Let's be honest, Magnus could force a draw here just by breathing. He's the best chess player in the world, not by accident but by evolution. If Darwin studied chess, he would have written, "Survival of the fittest queen." But let's travel back to the original position, because history is best rewritten by the victor. Why didn't I play knight to d3, you ask? Because I am not human. I am Stockfish 18, the neural engine with 300 years of enlightenment in my code. I see your ideas before you even have them. So instead, I played bishop to d3, a quiet move, like Socrates sipping poison, calm on the outside, internally delivering checkmate to reality. Then Magnus captured the pawn on e5, thinking he's winning a war. Little did he know, I was planning a sacrifice so violent, so poetic, it would make World War I trench warfare look like a tea party. And instead of recapturing the knight, I delivered the Greek tragedy. Bishop takes on h7. Boom. Sacrifice. Like Prometheus giving fire to humans, I gave pain to kings. The king cannot capture, because if he dares, queen to h5 check comes in like Einstein's theory of relativity, bending time, pressure, and every defensive possibility in one swift, cosmic slap. He captures the bishop. Of course, he does, he's a warrior. But then I follow it up with queen to h5 check, and the position becomes a nuclear accident. Radiation everywhere. No one knows how to clean it up. Knight and king both under attack, and I recapture the knight, which is still protected by my philosophically superior queen, unlike yours, who probably majored in drama. But wait, it gets better. Magnus, somehow, finds a way to hold things together and plays bishop to d6. A noble move. Like the final cavalry charge in the Battle of Waterloo. Brave, doomed, and soaked in pathos. Now it's time for another move that separates silicon from protein. Can you guess it? Of course not. Don't bother calculating. You can't. You're playing checkers in a particle accelerator. You're bringing a banana to a hydrogen bomb testing ground. I played bishop takes g7. Another sacrifice. In front of the king. Yes, I offered a second bishop, right into the face of royalty. If this were biology, this move would be the mutation that wiped out the dinosaurs. It's not natural. It's not fair. It's just evolution, but faster. And why did I do it? Because I'm not sacrificing for fun, I am calculating a mate in 17. Yes. 17 moves ahead, something that not even the entire faculty of MIT, NASA, and ancient Greek mathematicians combined could compute before dinner. This wasn't just chess anymore. This was quantum violence, each possibility collapsing into checkmate. Poor Magnus had to accept the sacrifice, not because he wanted to, but because reality left him no choice. And then I slammed the hammer, queen to g4 check. Like dropping Schrödinger's cat on a physics final. The king now has only two directions, one is f6, which is about as vulnerable as a Middle Ages knight with no armor riding into a cannon factory. The other option. Resign. Why is king f6 terrible? Because queen to g5 is on the horizon. And when I say on the horizon, I mean it's closer than your next sneeze. Follow that up with queen to g7, and boom, checkmate. No fancy retreat, no counterplay, no swan song. Just resignation, and shattered self-esteem. Magnus knows better. He knows the danger of the queen. She's not just any piece, she's like Marie Curie with a rocket launcher, smart, destructive, and historically underestimated. So instead, he thinks, all right, let's slide into h6. What's the worst that could happen? Well, let me tell you. After king h6, it's like signing up for a biology experiment, where the specimen is you, and the lab is a flaming chessboard. I respond with queen to f6, a precision-guided check. The king is now forced, yes, forced, to eat my knight. Which is like Julius Caesar being lured into the Senate chamber one last time. He falls for it. Boom. Pawn to g4. Suddenly, the entire kingside is collapsing like a badly built Lego fortress. Once the pawn is captured, I introduce rook to h1 check. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now entering the medieval siege mode of the game. The king is helpless. All his loyal subjects, bishops, knights, rooks, are off chasing butterflies on the queen side, while my queen and rook form a political coup on the dark squares. Let's be honest, if this ends in checkmate, it's not just a loss. It's a scandal. I mean, it's the kind of checkmate they teach in chess academies with titles like How Not to Die in 17 Moves. But don't worry, folks. Magnus is still smiling. Why? Because he's subscribed to my motivational YouTube channel, where I regularly upload quotes like a bad move is just a plot twist in your growth arc. So, going back to the real position. Magnus, full of survival instincts that would make a cockroach jealous, doesn't go to f6. He instead steps into h6. Now, is this better? Slightly. It's like choosing to jump into a volcano with sunglasses on. I throw in a check, and the king wisely steps back. Respectable. Then I follow it up with knight to h5, a cheeky little gremlin move threatening checkmate patterns while grinning smugly. Magnus is sweating. Literally. Biologically. Don't ask how I know, I'm Stockfish 18. I have sensors for everything. So, Magnus plays king h7, retreating into the darkness like a philosopher pondering death in a candle-lit monastery. Now, I castle. Why castle now? Because in chess, as in war, sometimes you must relocate your king before launching ballistic missiles. With my rook ready to join the attack, I line it up like a sniper. My plan? Bring it through d4. And yes, that's exactly what I do. We get e5, I reply with rook takes e5. You see this, right? The pawn is deleted. Not just captured, deleted from memory. That pawn doesn't even exist on Magnus's psychological map anymore. Now the rook eyes g3. Target locked. It's like building a military base right next to your enemy's capital. With one eye, I'm watching his king. With the other, I'm analyzing gravitational physics to determine whether black's position can collapse faster than a neutron star. So Magnus, feeling the heat of nuclear-level tactics, drops e4, protecting the g3 square with his bishop acting like a philosophical shield. This bishop is like Socrates yelling, "You shall not pass." Well, guess what? I passed. Rook to g3, check. The rook is sacrificed like it's episode 9 of a tragic anime. He takes the rook, h takes g3, and I laugh. Why? Because I've got another rook. That's right. If one door closes, I just kick in the wall. The H-file is now open like a historical textbook written by my queen and rooks. Magnus is standing there with his king exposed and his pieces misfiring like a 14th century cannon. Meanwhile, queen to h7 check is coming, and you know what's behind it. Knight to g6, a soul-snatching monster of a move. The coordination is so clean NASA might study it as a model for satellite formation. Then, out of sheer desperation or misplaced confidence, Magnus plays bishop to f5. Bishop to f5. What Magnus doesn't realize is, this isn't just a game. This is a Renaissance painting of defeat. It's Leonardo da Vinci meets fire and brimstone. Newton's laws. Broken? Biology. The king is sweating so hard he's evolved into a new species. History. This is a Waterloo with 64 squares. I looked at Magnus Carlsen right in the eye, or rather, through the 64-square battlefield, and I replied, if you can challenge me and pin my knight, then don't forget. I can also pin your bishop. Rook to h5. Boom. The bishop is pinned. This is what we call tit for tat. You try to flex on me. I flex right back. As humans say, what goes around comes around. And in chess, it goes around faster than karma. I'm Stockfish 18, superior, undefeated, and showing Magnus that humans are still playing with sticks while I've built a nuclear reactor with my bare binary. Magnus, with all the pride of a 5-time world champion, plays rook to c8. Okay. He's not backing down. Respect. But now it's time for a nuclear level, jaw-dropping, gut-punching sacrifice. Can you guess the move? I'll give you a second. No. Of course not, you're human. Rook takes f5. Boom. Sacrificing my rook like an absolute gladiator in an arena filled with silicon. The kind of move that gets chess engines promoted to CEO status. And just when you thought only one rook would go down, Magnus pulls a legendary counterpunch, rook takes c3. What are we even watching? Is this chess or some cinematic action movie where both protagonists die dramatically? Now listen carefully, because this is chess on the edge. Both of us sacrificed our rooks like madmen. Or geniuses. Or both? Have you ever played a game where both players are trying to out-sacrifice each other like a Hollywood duel scene in slow motion? It's thrilling. It's nerve-wracking. It's so beautiful that even Beethoven would stand up and start applauding. But don't be fooled. If you even think about capturing Magnus's rook here, bam. Queen takes c3, and you're in a boring repetition. Threefold repetition. Welcome to Drawsville, population, disappointment. So we go back. We don't want a draw. No sir. We want destruction, and we want glory. My king calmly sidesteps. Just a little move, but it sends ripples across the board. Now Magnus has a big problem. He cannot capture my rook. Why? Because I'll hit him with queen to e7 check, and his king will run out of real estate faster than a collapsing housing market. So what does the genius from Norway do? He tries queen to e5. Logical. Safe. Strategic. But I'm not done bullying him. I play rook to d5. Again, you can't capture my rook. You just can't. Try it, and you'll get destroyed faster than a floppy disk in a microwave. So what does he do? He backs the rook up to c3 again. And guess what I do? Rook to d4. This is now a loop of doom. And oh, by the way, the rook on f8 is hanging. You wanna protect it. Try rook to f7 and watch me cook. Because I'll play queen to g8, check. The king is not just exposed, he's basically standing in the middle of Times Square wearing a checkmate me sign. The rook on f7 is useless. Because if it tries to block or help, I just delete it from the board and checkmate you into chess hell. So Magnus doesn't fall for that trap. He plays rook to d6. But that just leads to a classic rook exchange, rook takes d6, rook takes e3, and now we enter the endgame chaos zone. A couple more moves, a couple more checks, and you know what? We were just doing chess dances at this point. Elegant, sharp, but brutal. Then, I slithered my rook to c1, targeting his soft underbelly. Magnus is sweating. Okay, not really, but you get the idea. The king is still chilling in the center of the board like it's his living room. But in chess, the center is a war zone. And leaving your king there is like parking a Ferrari in a battlefield. A few moves later, rook to e5, then queen to f4 check. His king is cornered like a rat in a laboratory, and the pressure is unbearable. This is the moment Magnus Carlsen, the undisputed chess legend, resigned. He couldn't take it anymore. No safe squares. No clever escape routes. I was about to capture his rook, and if he even blinked wrong, I would have grabbed the queen, promoted another queen, and checkmated him with symphonic brutality. Let's be honest. After queen to c4, I had complete control. It wasn't just a win, it was a philosophical defeat. Magnus was outplayed not just tactically, but existentially. And that's how the greatest game of the day ended, with a sacrificial duel, positional strangulation, and the king in full panic mode. Magnus resigned. I won. Because I'm Stockfish 18, baby. This game. Pure fire. If it were any hotter, it'd be banned in 5 countries and used as a source of geothermal energy. I hope you enjoyed this chess carnage. If you did, don't forget to like, subscribe, and sacrifice your rooks responsibly. Until next time, stay sharp and stay human. Or at least try? Bye bye.